Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike. You are watching and you are listening to the third episode of the Rock Out Wild Show. As you saw from the title, this episode is called What Professional Wrestling Means to Me. That will actually be the main event of this topic. I'm going to switch it up a little bit here. Also on the docket, I'm going to react to one of my old movie reviews. And the review that I have, third on the docket, is my review for Captain America the Winter Soldier. Also, I'm going to do topics like today in television and what happened on this day in music. And I also have another music topic as well, and that will be the kickoff topic for this very episode, and that is my favorite songs of 2024. And this is a top 20. Now that 2024 has come and gone, this is December 26th as I'm recording this. So I already have my top 20 written already, and this will be aired on a later date. This episode of the Rock and Wild Show, episode 3, will be aired on January the 15th, 2025. So without further ado, my first topic for this very episode, like I said, my favorite top 20 songs of the year 2024 with 5 honorable mentions. The 5 honorable mentions on this list are Underdog by Nonpoint, Universal by Xandria, Uncontrolled by Future Palace, Trial by Fire by Judas Priest, and Just Too Much by Tremonti. Here are my top 20 favorite songs of the year 2024. Starting off at number 20, it's a song that's been 14 weeks on my chart, and that is In the Meantime by Lacuna Coil, featuring Ash Costello from New Year's Day. Number 19 is one of 3 songs on the year-end countdown by yours truly. That song is Back to You. At number 18 on the year-end chart, The New Roses with their song When You Fall in Love. Number 17 on this list, a band that I consider to be a breakup band in 2024. That is Made of Stone by Snow White in the Dark. Number 16 is one of 3 songs by this new symphonic metal band known as Ad Infinitum or Ad Infinitum, depending how you pronounce it, with their song Surrender. Number 15 on the top 20 of 2024 is who I consider the comeback band of 2024. That is Kitty with their song One Foot in the Grave. At number 14 on the UN chart, Because I Let You by Infected Rain. At number 13 on the year-end list is The Gems with their song Queens. Number 12 on the year-end countdown is Sick by The Warning. At number 11, just shy of the top 10, is one of 2 songs on this countdown by Leaves' Eyes. At number 11 is In Eternity. Number 10 on the year-end countdown is Luminate by Scarlet Riot. Number 9 on the countdown is Sour by yours truly. Number 8, Canadian band from Ontario, Luthero, with their song Reaper's Call. And number 7 on the year-end chart, Call My Name by yours truly. At number 6 is the second song on this countdown by Ad Infinitum, My Halo. At number 5 is the only song on this chart by one of my favorite duos of all time from Australia. They are known as the Veronicas with their song Detox. Number 4 on the countdown of the year-end chart of 2024 is Realm of Dark Waves by Leaves' Eyes. Number 3, Lullaby by Scarlet Riot. In the runner-up position of number 2 on the year-end countdown of 2024, Say What You Will by one of my favorite singers going today, Miles Kennedy. And my number 1 favorite song of 2024 is Outer Space by Ad Infinitum. So that is my top 20 songs of the year 2024. All right. Now that that topic is all done and out of the way, let's go ahead and share screen because we're going to do stuff from on this day, December 26, 2024, as of this recording. So I'm going to hit that present, share screen, and I'm going to do what happened to this day in music. So let's share because sharing is caring. On this day, December 26th, as you can see right there in 2007, Amy Winehouse's second album, Back to Black, was named as the biggest selling album of the year. Released at the end of 2006, the album has now sold more than 1.5 million copies in the UK, achieving 5 platinum sales awards. Winehouse was also nominated for 6 Grammys, including Song of the Year. Leona Lewis's Spirit was the second bestseller. Lewis sold 1.27 million copies in just 5 weeks, becoming the fastest selling debut in UK history, and making the former X Factor winner the fastest female million seller in the UK. Mika's Life in Cartoon Motion were the third best-selling album of 2007. All I have to say is Amy Winehouse gone away too soon. She's a part of that 27 club along with a lot of them. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, you name them. So that is on this day that happened in music in 2007. Now we're going to do Today in Television History, something I never done on this show before. So this will be a first. So as you can see right here, back in 1986, which was the year I was born, Search for Tomorrow was seen for the last time on CBC TV. The show has been on the air for 35 years. 35 years. Let that sink in. And in 1991, Michael Jackson was featured on ABC TV's Entertainers 91. The show featured the top 20 entertainers of 1991 as well. So that's what happened today in television history. And now, let's do a reaction. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And I'm actually going to put on my camera. I'm actually going to put on my camera for this because I'm going to react to an old review of mine. And that is for my review for Captain America the Winter Soldier. So let's share screen. Got the audio up. All right. Let's put this on YouTube. And I don't actually hear it. That's because I have the volume turned down, I think. Yeah. Okay, now I can hear it. All right. Let's react to this thing in 3, 2, 1, go. And I still stand by that. Incredible. And this quote. Mhm. Yeah, one thing I actually liked, when I watched this the first time with the Winter Soldier character is that he added a lot of mystery, like, who was he? Like, did Captain America know him? Did anybody know him for that matter? Mhm. Whoever. Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Ah. There it is again. Mhm. I enjoy that character. Oh, that elevator scene. Mhm. Yep, yep. One thing I wanna say about comedies in general, the best type of comedies are the comedies that are not labeled as comedies. I just food for thought. He would almost. Yeah, it's like a crime spy espionage movies. So it adds a lot of there's a lot of mystery going on. There's a coolness to it. It's a very slick movie altogether. I this review still holds up to this day, I think. Mhm. 95. Still watch it stuff too. All right. So yeah. Yeah, that review still holds up to this very day. That was I thought a really again, I was still kind of struggling in my screen presence. I was still fairly new with the movie reviews. It was only my third movie review on that very channel, so I was getting more practice week by week. It was a weekly thing for me, these movie reviews. So that was all that. And now for the main event, the main course, the main topic for this episode, you can see from the title, what professional wrestling means to me. This topic is not going to be about the history of the WWF or WWE or WCW, TNA, ECW, or AEW, or anything like that. This is just going to be my experience of wrestling in general with most of the wrestling products that were out there and are still currently going as well. What professional wrestling means to me is a lot. Wrestling has been embedded in my life at a really early age. My earliest memory I have with the WWF, with professional wrestling in general, was with the WWF. It was at a house show in my local area back in probably early to mid 90s. It was a really good live show. It was just a house show, non televised. And I saw the characters that we know from that time, like Bastion Booger, Doink the Clown, Razor Ramon, 123 Kid, The Undertaker, Crush, you name it. I seen them. So that was my earliest memory of professional wrestling. And after that, it's a little fuzzy for about a few years until somewhere early 1998. I was just flicking through the TV, and then all of a sudden, I see Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mike Tyson in the ring, surrounded by a bunch of people. And then Stone Cold shoves out Mike Tyson, and money flies everywhere and stuff like that. That was pretty much my earliest memory on a television wrestling show. Was that segment involving Mike Tyson, Stone Cold, and a bunch of others in there? And that was all leading up to, at that time, WrestleMania 14, when Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels main evented that year. And so that was my earliest television memory, at least. But I wasn't watching wrestling week to week just yet, only brief periods at a time. And during roughly around that time, I was watching a little bit of WCW when Goldberg had his winning streak going on. I was watching a little bit of ECW, but not much. I've seen a little bit to know how extreme ECW can really get, and I thought it was really good from the stuff I was watching. But mainly, I was a WWF/WWE kind of guy. And I started watching WWE weekly on a weekly basis around this time in late December of 2001, leading up to the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania 18 in 2002, which was in the Sky Dome. That used to be known as the Sky Dome, but now the Rogers Center. So WrestleMania 18 was the first WrestleMania I've ever watched. I watched that. I went to my local gas station in Irving, and I rented a VHS of WrestleMania 18. And I watched it that night, and I just had a blast just watching it alone. It was just me watching it, and I couldn't get enough of it. So that was my experience of watching a WrestleMania. And then pretty much the rest is history. I was watching it week by week. And what got me into watching wrestling in the first place is a wrestler named The Undertaker. I loved his mystique, his presence, his larger than life persona, the darkness, the whole mysterious vibe. Absolutely loved Undertaker. He's my favorite wrestler of all time, and he's the one that got me into professional wrestling in the first place. And then everyone else just fell into play. I mean, I already knew who Hulk Hogan was, and maybe one or two other people. I knew who The Rock was. I knew who Stone Cold Steve Austin was. Later on, I started to learn about some of the rest of the talent on the roster, like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Edge, and Eddie Guerrero, just to name a few, and Kurt Angle. And to me, when I look at professional wrestling in general, I think we can all agree or can all attest to Andre the Giant, who really put professional wrestling on the map. And it's not just Andre the Giant; it's a whole bunch of people. But Andre the Giant was the one that really set the bar for what professional wrestling is. And then you have guys like Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, Gorgeous George, and Bruno Sammartino that really started to put professional wrestling on the map, and then Hulk Hogan took it mainstream, and you get the rest. John Cena is probably the biggest name when it comes to professional wrestling. Then you have Roman Reigns. Now that's just a brief summary about wrestling if you don't know what wrestling is, but that's my experience watching wrestling, and I was watching it week to week from roughly around late 2001 up until 2014. Now, I must take you back just a little bit further around 2012. And I started to think to myself, Mike, I've watched wrestling for so long. You know what? I feel like I could start reviewing wrestling. Shows like Raw, SmackDown, and NXT was just starting up then, and TNA Impact. So I started reviewing them, and I enjoyed doing all of that. But then it just got to a point where really creative in general, and Vince McMahon, the one that used to run wrestling, the WWE in the first place, really, how do I put this lightly? I didn't like the direction that a lot of stories were going in wrestling, mainly WWE, because of the bad writing and the bad storytelling and the character choices Vince made with his talent. It was just baffling to me. And there was a point where I stopped watching Raw and SmackDown altogether. Back in roughly around August, September of 2014 was when I stopped watching altogether. And it was because of the stuff that I was talking about. So I just mainly watched the odd YouTube clip, nothing much, just to give one of the shows a view, but never a whole episode. I never watched it on television or anything like that for a good portion, a good number of years. That was until roughly around 2020. Somewhere around September or October, one of those months in 2020, and I thought to myself, Mike, you haven't watched SmackDown in a long time. Just give it a go. You know, just watch a whole episode, see if it clicks, see if it jives, and if it doesn't jive, just forget about it altogether. And it just so happened that the first segment of the SmackDown that I watched was a segment involving the Bloodline. At the time, it was the original Bloodline. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, the Usos, Paul Heyman, and Sami Zayn. And they were doing this segment where they were Roman Reigns was pretty much trolling Sami Zayn, saying that he's going to be out of the Bloodline. They're going to kick him out. Turns out that wasn't the case. They gave him a shirt. And I think that was back in September of 2020, if I'm not mistaken, where they done that segment. And that was like, that is the segment that made me fall back in love with professional wrestling. That was the one that did it. And the rest is history. And then ever since then, I slowly started to watch at least SmackDown week by week. Now, when it comes to a show like NXT, I've always watched that week by week. I haven't fallen out of love with NXT. I've always enjoyed it no matter what. Even in the weird NXT 2.0 era, still watched it. And it's gotten better, I thought. NXT has actually gotten better since the 2.0 days. Now, the black and gold days of NXT were fantastic. And then they had the humongous bump in the road. But now I think they're starting to get back on track. It's kind of like me watching wrestling in general. In general, the parallels there is outstanding to me. So when I think about all of this, and TNA as well. There was a time when I stopped watching TNA. Haven't watched it since, and the only reason why is because it left Spike TV, and that was the end of that. And I was getting ready to do a course in medical terminology, so I was going to be very busy not watching professional wrestling in general. So the way I look at professional wrestling is this. I was in love with it, absolutely in love with it, from the early 90s up until late 2014. And I fell out of love with it for a good number of years, for at least for a good 6 years. That was until that segment happened on SmackDown in 2020, and I slowly got back into it. So, and I love the direction that it's going now, because there's a good possibility that I could watch Raw again. Maybe not a whole episode, but I will love to watch that first Raw on Netflix when it comes out. Now, as of this recording, it's not out yet, but it will be out once this episode is aired. It'll be a week before. It'll be a week after. This episode will air weeks after. So that's going to be it for episode 3 of the Rock On Wild show, titled What Professional Wrestling Means to Me. I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Just Mike, yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video, share this episode with your friends, share this channel with your friends. And I just want to thank you all, and thank you for everything. And on a final note to all of you watching, get plenty of rest, and always do your best.